So today we are doing the second part of chapter 3, chapter 3b, chapter about the combinatorial theory of continued fraction. So I remind you what we have done in the first part. The first part was dedicated to Philippe Flageolet, as he has the main role in this story. And so I quickly review what we have done. We have defined still-just continued fraction for any sequence lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda k of parameters. Then we have defined Jacobi continued fraction, where there is two sequences of parameters, b, bk, and lambda k. And then the fundamental Flageolet lemma with a capital L was that the sum of the weight of Motzkin path was the interpretation of this Jacobi continued fraction. And the weight of Motzkin path is, as usual, the weight we have done since the beginning of this course with bk lambda k, where the steps start at level k, go east or southeast or north. And then this combining the Flageolet lemma about the interpretation of J fraction, combining what we have done in chapter 1, proving that these Motzkin paths are the moments of orthogonal polynomial defined by this three-term recurrence relation, then we get a combinatorial proof of the equivalence of the two theories. And then we have done if you stop the continued fraction, we have done interpretation of the convergent with bijective proof of this rational fraction is the denominator is a reciprocal of the orthogonal polynomial, and the numerator is a reciprocal, but shifted delta means you shift all the valuation. Bk become bk plus 1, and lambda k become lambda k plus 1. And any power series, in general, can be expanded in Stieltjes and in Jacobi continued fraction. So you can ask, what is the relation between this coefficient gamma k, I put gamma k instead of lambda k, and here the coefficient bk lambda k, if you make this equality. So we have given some relation with the combinatorial proof by contraction of the path. The Dicke path became a weighted two-column Motzkin path. And then we gave some example coming from combinatorics, like the alternating permutation give you this expansion of the Laplace transform of the tangent t. This is a tangent number, or the secant number, and we have done this can be done combinatorially. The Genocky numbers also can be done explained by the combinatorics of alternating permutation and some other alternating pistol, surjective pistol, everything. And we finish this by mentioning as a complement, because I don't give any proof of this possible to expand Jacobi elliptic function, this Cn, Sn, Dn, in a continued fraction. And you see if you take the parameter alpha equal 1, for example, for Cn, you get back the second continued fraction. And then we finish with the beautiful last work of Flageolet with many different papers. And he worked with the Dixmanian elliptic function, which are defined by this differential equation, and they satisfy this. They are on the Fermat cubic, and there is beautiful this kind of continued fraction, which seems to be amazing. And he worked with Konrad. This was in the thesis of Konrad, and he worked with him at the end of his life. And this is the last wishing card of 2000, I think 9. And you see, this is a summation over on the lattice. And then there is this expansion, very amazing continued fraction. So we continue with some other example, some maybe more simple example of continued fraction related to Catalan and the extension of Catalan number. So we have seen in previous lectures that there was a beta analog of the Chebyshev polynomial. When you put a parameter beta, the moment of the Chebyshev second kind are the Catalan number, and this polynomial enumerate Dicke paths according to the number of peaks. Dicke path of length 2n with k peaks. This is a well-known classical so-called Narayana numbers, enumerating Dicke paths by number of peaks. It's enumerate many different Catalan objects by some parameter. This is called the beta distribution, usually. And there is an expansion in continued fraction of this of this polynomial. So you see this continued fraction. If you put beta equal 1, you get back the expansion of continued fraction of the Catalan number. Catalan is bk equals 0, lambda k equal 1. But here, if you put for odd level, you put beta, don't put, you put beta, don't put. 2 by 2, if you put the beta, then you get exactly the expansion of this power series, the beta analog of a Catalan number. And there is a nice, completely bijective proof of this. Using the bijection we have done in the Catalan garden in part 1 of this series of lecture. So the proof is that, I just remind you the proof, you have to go back to part 1. If you have a Dick path, then it's well known there is a bijection between Dick path and such so-called staircase polygon or parallelogram polyomino. Staircase polygon, it's you have some square like this, and you have two paths. The upper path having only elementary step north or east. The lower path also having elementary step east and north, and the two paths start at the same point. They end at the same point, and they don't intersect. So the portion between the two paths is called polyomino. It's a union of square or staircase polygon because it's a polygon. So such polygon of perimeter 2 and plus 2 is well known to be the Catalan number, and there is a bijection between the two. You have to, each peak corresponds to a column. Go back to part 1 of this series of lecture. And then if you read this staircase polygon by reading by diagonal, so each slice there is 4 possible ways. The width you get here can increase by 1, decrease by 1, or stay the same with 2 different ways. So this gives you a bijection between this staircase polygon and these 2-column Hodgkin paths. And then there is a classical bijection. This 2-column Hodgkin path become a Dick path. This is exactly what we have done, in fact, for contraction of continued fraction. This was a Dick path with some weight, gamma k, the Stiglitz continued fraction, and then you make a contraction of the path to get a Jacobi continued fraction, the bk lambda k. So this is exactly this contraction, but without any weight. And then if you look carefully what happened of the peak of the distribution beta, the peak becomes a column. The column becomes some of the two kind of, there's 4 kind of paths. So the column becomes, the blue becomes one of the 2 of this possible, 4 possible set. And then if you look carefully what happened of this, this parameter beta, it becomes exactly the number of steps going down in the Dick path which are going down at an odd level. For example, for going from 1 to 0 or going from 3 to 2. So this peak becomes exactly this red edges. South is passed at an odd level, so you get exactly this this continued fraction. That lambda k, the continued fraction expansion in Stiglitz continued fraction of this is exactly lambda k equal 1 if k is even, and lambda k equal beta if k is odd. So you have this is a classical also continued fraction expanding the Narayana number in continued fraction, and it can be completely done bijectively by combining the classical bijection of the Catalan garden. This is chapter 2a of part 1 of this series of lecture. So second example, the Schroeder number. So Schroeder number is there is 2 Schroeder numbers, the large and the small. So the large Schroeder number, can be viewed like path like this or path like this. You see, it's path going in this below the diagonal and starting in 0, 0, ending in n on the diagonal. They are below diagonal, and you are allowed to do east step, north step, and this diagonal step. So if you put this like this path, it's not Hodgkin path. It should be Hodgkin path when the level is counting for 2. It's like any level, any E step should be double E step if you go back to Hodgkin path. So this is another classical sequence of combinatorics. Generating function is algebraic of Schroeder number. And from the previous continued fraction, we can deduce easily that the continuum fraction for large Schroeder number is equal to this. So why? It's the same as before with the beta, but you replace beta by 2. And the proof is easy. Because if you take any Dicke path, suppose you have you take a Dicke path, and then you can replace when you have a peak. If you suppose a Dicke path were going like this, when you have a peak, then you can do nothing, or you can replace the peak by this step. So in fact, Schroeder path is exactly giving a Dicke path, and for each peak, you say, oh, I keep it, or I replace the peak by this. So for each peak, you have choice of 2, which means you replace beta by 2. And so you get this continuum fraction immediately from the continuum fraction of counting Dicke path by number of peaks. It's just a consequence of this continuum fraction. Now, sometime in literature, you will see some second family of Schroeder number, the small Schroeder number. The small is a number of Schroeder paths, again, going from 0 to n, but with no step on the 0 level. If I take this interpretation, it's Schroeder path, but there is no step on this level. So this is a little corresponding to little Schroeder number. Or if you take this interpretation, there is no diagonal step on the diagonal. So sometimes it is called small Schroeder path and small Schroeder number. And the number of such paths is 1, 1, 3, 11, 45. And amazingly, you can see that small Schroeder number is half of the Schroeder number themselves. So exercise give a proof of this. You can give 2 different proofs. You can make the geometric function, algebraic, both geometric function, or you can make a bijection. It means that if you have the bijection, should be, if you take, so Schroeder path can be split into 2 families. Schroeder path which does not touch the 0 level. This is small Schroeder. And what remains is Schroeder path touching the 0 level. So you have to find a bijection between Schroeder path touching, having at least 1 step on the 0 level, and little Schroeder path having no step on this level. There exists a bijection in 3 lines. It's not obvious maybe to see, but and second exercise. See, if you put the 2 by 2, but you, instead of putting in odd level, you put in even level. And this is a continuum fraction for small Schroeder number. So see, it can play with this elementary manipulation to prove this exercise by calculus, by bijection, by as you like. Another example, we have seen staircase polygon or parallelogram polyomino. And there is a well-known Polya, the Q-Polya number. The Q-Polya number is counting this staircase polygon or parallelogram polyomino by the area. If you count them by perimeter, we have seen that it's a Catalan number, but this is a Q-analog of the Catalan number. There is different Q-analogs. This is called the Polya Q number. Flageolet, he like also this Q-Polya number. So there is a beautiful continuum fraction for counting this according to the perimeter and the area. So I call P index nj is the number of such staircase polygon with perimeter 2n plus 4 and area equal to j. For example, here the perimeter n equals 6. The perimeter is 16. Each of these paths has length 8. And the perimeter 2n plus 4 is 16. And the area is the number of squares. Area is 10. And to compute the continuum fraction, associated continuum fraction for this generating function of the P and J, you just cut 45-degree slice of this staircase polygon. And you see, each time you cut, if you count, you can count the area of the polyomino. So if you put this weight, see, cutting in this slide, there is 4 possible steps. When there is north step, means the width which was 1 here becomes 2. So the width of the slide is increasing by 1. When you go down, the width is decreasing by 1. And when you stay the same level, there is a blue level and red level. It's because the width is invariant, but there is 2 different ways to keep this width invariant. Like this one give a blue level, and this one give a red level. And if you count exactly the height of each of these elementary steps, the height k, and if you put a weight q power k plus 1, a k, b prime k, etc., q power k plus 1, k plus 1, k plus 1, k plus 1, you get exactly the area, the weight of this color Motzkin path. The product of all this weight is going to be q power, the area of the polyomino, but there is a shift by 1. The q comes because you have this half square here, and this half square here give you this q here. And so you can easily, with this bijection, you can easily get now the continuum fraction. See ak, if you just take the sum, lambda k equal ak minus 1 ck, and bk equals the sum of these two, b prime k, b double prime, you get this continuum fraction for the q Polian numbers, the q analog of the Catalan number. Staircase polygon by perimeter and area. And you can check the first few terms of the 5 polyomino, for example. Catalan number 1, 2, 5, and the area of this and the weight of this Motzkin path. So my last example will be directed animal. We have seen this come from statistical mechanics. We have seen this also in part 1 of this series of lectures. And the directed animal on a square lattice, it's a set of points. There is the origin, the root of the animal in red, and such that any point of the animal can be reached by your path from the origin, by your directed path, meaning it's a path going from one vertex to a neighbor vertex, going elementary steps are only east and north, and the path is completely contained in the animal. It's a series of points of the animal, which you go from one point to another by a north or east elementary step. I don't claim that's a unique path. It can be many paths. For example, a Ferrer diagram is a directed animal with no hole. It's very compact, but you can have a directed animal like trees, everything. And there is a nice generating function. It's an algebraic generating function. And we have seen in part 1 that directed animal satisfies this algebraic equation. If I get y, the generating function for such animal, it satisfies this equation, where z satisfies this algebraic equation. And then what is the first equation? First equation is a generating function for left factor of Motzkin path. It's the beginning of a Motzkin path. It's easy to show that the beginning of Motzkin path satisfies this. If I call z the generating function for Motzkin path. If you take, we have seen this also, it's analog of Catalan number, but algebraic equation with for Motzkin path. And this is equation for left factor of Motzkin path, and directed animal satisfies the same algebraic equation. So there is some bijective proof, there is some bijection between directed animal and the left factor of Motzkin path. So there is some bijection. So using this bijection, easy exercise shows that the continuum fraction, the bk lambda k, are lambda k equal 1, and bk equal 1 for every k strict. Oh, it should be bigger or equal to 1, and b0 equal to 2. So this is easy to. It's 1 everywhere except for bk lambda k, except b0 equal to. So this is easy. If you admit that the directed animal is left factor of Motzkin path, and left factor Motzkin path, you have to put a bijection with weighted Motzkin path. So you fill in 2 lines what is the process to get this bk lambda k. So now we are going to go to more delicate and more deeper result about subdivided Laguerre history. So this is a new bijection between permutation and some Laguerre histories that are not the same. We call this with Anne-de-Médicis subdivided Laguerre history. So if you remember earlier, you get a continued fraction for permutation, for n factorial. In modern notation, you should put a minus everywhere, which means Euler puts a minus here on the ordinary generating function of n factorial. So if you rewrite this continued fraction in the modern notation of Stieltjes continued fraction, this is a notation, you see. So this is a Stieltjes expansion of n factorial. And Laguerre history was to explain the Jacobi expansion of n factorial. So the subdivided Laguerre history is a bijection explaining directly this Stieltjes continued fraction. We know there is, by contracting the path, there is a correspondence between Stieltjes and Jacobi. What we are going to do this morning is we are going to give a direct interpretation of this Euler continued fraction. We are going to have with history, and then compress, make the analog of contraction of path, but inside the combinatorial history, and get back the restricted Laguerre history. So first, I have to define what is subdivided Laguerre history. So you see the weight. The weight is coming from Euler continued fraction is lambda k equal 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. So a subdivided Laguerre history is you give a Dicke path, and for each southeast elementary step, you make a choice of a number between here there is one choice, 2 choice, 3 choice. So I change the notation here. Instead of putting the 3 choice numbering 1, 2, 3, taking a possibility pi between 1 and 3, I take between 0 and 2, between 0 and lambda k minus 1. I shift to 0 because all this is, there's a Q analog behind this. There is a Q Laguerre, there is a PASEP, there is a Q of the PASEP behind all this. So I take the slide from the PASEP, and I did not change the convention. So in this class today, the possibilities are between 0 and lambda k minus 1. So this is, I call it a subdivided Laguerre history. It's a choice. This is a possible choice. So here I have only one possible choice, 0. Here at this level, I can choose 0 or 1. At this level, I have 3 choices. I can choose 0, 1, or 2. So you just take the arbitrary choice, and this must be a permutation. So I am going to give a bijection between such subdivided Laguerre history coming directly from the Stieltjes Euler continued fraction of n factorial. I am going to give a bijection to permutation, a direct bijection. So this was done with Anne-de-Médicis. The same Anne-de-Médicis in a paper of Stanton in chapter 1 about the positivity, proving the ASCII positivity of some linearization coefficient. And so let's take subdivided Laguerre history. And you see the Dicke path, what we have done, we have put yellow one on an odd level and even level. I put 2 different colors. So this is level lambda k equal lambda 1. So I put yellow. This is lambda 2, lambda 3. So for each lambda, in this case with k odd, I put a level yellow like this, and white between 2 yellow levels. And then you can see that you can decompose your Dicke path. There is some southeast step in the yellow strip. This is the 2, the 1, 0, the 1, the 0. So I put this number, the number of choice in red. Each time the southeast step, the weight is in the yellow strip. And I put in blue. Each time the southeast step is in a white area. So I am going to split this diagram in two different diagrams corresponding to the yellow strip and the white strip. So imagine you take all northeast and southeast step in the yellow strip, you keep them in the same order, and you glue them together. And you do this also for the white strip. So for example, you see here, for the white strip, I go up, up, and then down, up, down, this. So I get this dig path. Gluing together in the same order all the steps of the yellow strip, of the white strip, give you this dig path. And I keep the weight. Here the weight is, the blue weight is 1, 0, 0. So 1, 0, 0, I keep the blue weight. And in red, I put the weight of the southeast step in the yellow strip, which give me another dig path. And I put, I double the n equal 8. I'm going to get a permutation on 8 elements. But you see, I have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. So each time I put 1 minus, 1 plus, 2 minus, 2 plus, 3 minus, 3 plus. And I put some color on this index, red or blue, corresponding if 2, because he is it corresponds to a step in a yellow strip. So the split of yellow and white strip and the split of the dig path in two different dig paths give you also a split of the indices. In blue and red, there is 16 indices. Each number I, there is I minus and I plus. So I think the picture, the example, gives you, it's clear how I split the into blue and red dig path. But if you give me these two dig paths, of course, if I want to go back to this, then I have to make a shuffle. I have to interlace the two, and the interlacing is given by these indices. You need all this number, 1 plus, 2 plus, you need, or minus, or this blue and red number. You can reconstruct the whole dig path with the weight just by knowing these two dig paths with the weight and knowing the indices which are below, which are going from 1 to 2n, with each index I is I minus and I plus. And so now we have, well, we know that dig path with this weight, now the weight of the dig path is lambda k equal k. Because of the construction, instead of half of k, now I have exactly, because I have split my level in yellow, green, yellow, white, yellow, white, yellow, white. So now I am like a compression, and I have the weight of the dig path. I have some dig path with the weight lambda k equal k. So I have Hermite history. This is exactly the bijection with involution with no fixed point. So I have two dig paths weighted by the same weight for Hermite polynomial, which is going to give me two Hermite history and two involution with no fixed point. So I start with this red. See, I have this indices here. 1 minus, 2 minus, 3 plus. So I have my dig path. And I go up. So you read your dig path. Just recall the Hermite history. There is something. Okay, so you go up, up, up. So the dig path has a length 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. The length is 10. And then the first step is northeast. So you open an arc here. Then second step, you open an arc. Third step, you open. And then now I am going down. So I'm going to close. And you can close. There is 3 different choices. So I label, there is a convention here. I can label from left to right, from right to left. So I label the 3 different choices, 0, 1, 2. And okay, the history, the dig path tell me to take choice number 2. So you close this one. Then I go up again. I have again 3 different choices. And the history tell me go to choice number 1, this one. So you connect this new with this. And now I go down again. Okay, so I am going to connect this with one of these two. I have 2 different choices. 0 and 1 to connect this ending point. And I take choice number 0. Okay, so now I go up again. So I have 2 open arc. And then I have to close, going down with choice number 1. So I close here. And I go down with choice number 0. Okay, so this is, again, we have seen this many times, and this is a bijection between the Hermite history, a dict path with some weight lambda k equal k, and possibility shifted to 0. And this is an arc diagram or involution with no fixed point. So now you do the same second Hermite history. You have a certain dict path, and so up, up. So you take the choice number 1, that's the second choice. So this is 0, 1, and the 5 you connect here. Now you go up again. You have to take choice number 0. So you connect this with this. And now there is only one choice. You go down, and this is the second involution, second Hermite history. And so from the subdivided Laguerre history, we get a pair of 2 Hermite history, which become a pair of 2 involution with no fixed point. But these involutions, they are indexed, coming from the Laguerre history, they are indexed by some number between 1 and n with a minus or a plus. So what I am going to do now is to join them together to get a permutation. And this is I can put them together, you see. So now your number. So you put the number 1 minus, 1 plus, 2 minus, 2 plus, 3 minus, 3 plus. You put them, this 2n number here. And then you just, this blue arc, connecting, for example, 1 plus and 6 minus, you repeat this, this blue involution above the x-axis. You repeat this red involution with no fixed point below. So you get this picture, you see. It's a shuffle, kind of shuffle of the 2 involution with no fixed point. And it's indexed by this. So see what I have done, I have put color on this point. They're alternating white and black, white, black, white, black. So each I minus is a white, and each I plus is a black. And now I am very close to the permutation. What I do, I glue together the white and black, each of these double points. You glue them together. And you get this permutation. So this is the permutation, 6, 5, 3. And you see the distinction. We have seen the notion of exceedance and non-exceedance. Exceedance means that sigma y is strictly bigger than I. So this is 1 give 6 is an exceedance. 2 give 5 is an exceedance. And 5 give 8 is an exceedance. So you put the exceedance as an arc in blue above, and the non-exceedant, you put them below as a red arc, containing the fixed point. Fixed point is also weak. It's not a strict exceedance. So now if you know, so this arc, you see, are oriented. All the blue arc go to the left, from left to right. All the red arc go from right to left. But now when I go from this picture to this picture, every point here is split into 2 points, a white and a black. And if you connect this white and black with some edges, you can recognize. Suppose you connect, suppose you have this sequence of white and black. Suppose you connect all these points by some edges. So you can recognize what are the blue edges corresponding to exceedant, what are the red edges. Blue edges connect a black point with a white point. And the red edges connect a white on the left to a black on the right. So when you take one of these edges, you can recognize if it is above or below, if it is exceedant, no exceedant. If there is 2 kinds of edges, the black is on the left, or the black is on the right. So you don't need to make orientation. Yes, Samri?
In the intermediate steps, you don't get all pairs of involutions with no fixed points and all. There's a subset, right?
It's a subset of a... Well, there it's split into... Yes, it's a subset.
But it's not
here.
All the pairs.
Yes, it's if you have this coloring of black and white, the subset is each edges connect a white and a black. Yeah. No black connected together, no white point connected together. So it's a subset. When you take these two endpoints, it's...
that black is not connected to black and white?
That's because of the construction. If you go back to the... That's because of the construction. It's because of the starting point here. Because of the... If you look carefully at all the construction, then you will realize that this construction, it's always the edges connect a black and a white. Even if here you feel that it's a sequence of it's not algebraic sequence in black and white, but because of the parity, I have dividing the Dicke path into odd and even level, and then this parity will also give some parity on the abscisse. Oh, it's so I do the reverse bijection. So you get a permutation. So this is a bijection between subdivided Laguerre story and permutation, but written in cycle notation with exceedant and non-exceedant. And you have this sequence of white and black. Some other question? No, it's okay?
No. How do you characterize the two kind of alternating combinations which come, especially the white and the black association?
So what is the question? How I connect?
So you got a blue Hermite history.
Yes.
History. But you have more than that. You have these points with black.
Yes, I have. In the Hermite, because I have this notation here of 1 minus coming from the big Dicke path at the beginning.
Yeah, I understand.
So it will be not totally because of the division of the level, yellow, white, yellow, white, yellow, white. It will give you a division also on the projection on the abscisse of the two Hermite history, and they will nicely shuffle, giving this black and white. Well, it's difficult to explain completely, but maybe you can think about it by giving the reverse bijection. So from permutation to subdivided Laguerre. So I take a permutation and reading in cycle notation, which means I am looking the exceedant. So 1,6 is an exceedant. So I put the exceedant in blue. 2,5 is an exceedant, strict exceedant. 5,8 is an exceedant. So here is my number n equal 1 to 8. And then 1,6. So I will put the exceedant as an oriented arc in blue, which is above the x-axis, and non-exceedants I will put in red, which is below. Now the second step is to split each of these points into 2 points. The number I become I minus I plus. On the left you put white, on the right you put black. And then these edges by construction, each edges, blue or red, will connect a white and a red point. And then you can realize that if the black point is on the left and the white is on the right, then you get an exceedant. And the red is the contrary. The white point is on the left, black point is on the right. So you don't need the orientation of the edges. When you have splitted this, you can reconcile the orientation and the exceedance by this construction. So it's not a complete arbitrary involution with no fixed point. It's an involution such that each arc connects a black and a white. And there is 2 different possible arcs. It's corresponding to the blue and the red, corresponding to black-white or white-black. So now from this, you split this. you split this in two different involution on this set of points. So plus, minus, etc. So you see, each time you have a minus, it's a white point. Each time you have a black, a plus, I plus, it's a black point. So it's important when I am going to shuffle all this to get back the original dict path. So from these two involution no fixed point, you get two Hermite history. And now from these two Hermite history, you shuffle them to get a big dict path. And so you have to see that there is some harmony in this shuffle. The point, the minus correspond to minus or plus correspond to white and black, and this division white and black reflects the division on the vertical on this level, reflects the division. You have odd even level, etc. So you have to think of this shuffle. There is a shuffle of the level, but there is also a shuffle of the axis. And these two shuffle work in harmony to get what we want. The final picture is this, you see. You have the permutation, you have the subdivided Laguerre history, and you have the two Hermite polynomial. So this is a direct bijection which explains the Euler quantum fraction. But we can do more because we learn the contraction of quantum fraction. We have the Stieltjes quantum fraction coming for Euler. It was gamma k equals the half of the ceiling of k over 2, and also we know the Jacobi quantum fraction for permutation. And we know the relation between the two. The relation comes from a contraction of dict path. So we have seen last time there were two kinds of contraction. You read the dict path jumping the level 2 by 2, and what you get, you see, when you get this relation between, this is a Stieltjes quantum fraction, this is a Jacobi quantum fraction, and this is the relation between the bk lambda k and the gamma k coming from this geometry of paths. See, a level can be in two different kinds. Going down is a product of these two. There was also a second contraction, but today I will not use this second contraction. In next chapter, I will need the two possible contractions. But now if I do this for the Euler quantum fraction, and if you apply the relation bk lambda k, then you get this Jacobi quantum fraction with n factorial. You get bk equal 2k plus 1, and lambda k equal k to the square. But we can instead of just contracting the path and giving this formula between the gamma k and bk, we can be more precise, because what I am going to do is to understand the contraction on the history themselves. Because we know that this is restricted Laguerre history. N factorial. Laguerre history give you n plus 1 factorial. This is, we have seen bijection. We have seen three bijections between restricted Laguerre history and permutation in terms of words, permutation in terms of cycle notation, and Laguerre heaps of segment. There's three incarnations of the restricted Laguerre history to n factorial. Now we have seen an incarnation, a bijection between this permutation and this subdivided Laguerre history. What I would like to understand is to do the contraction at the level of the bijection themselves. So we have to do more than this simple formula. So to do more, we are going to, again, to make two, instead of taking the sum, like here, instead of taking bk equals this plus this, which correspond to these two different possibilities, and I'm going to first to do this possibility. See, b prime k is going to be gamma this, the red level, and the blue level will be this. So I'm going to make my four valuation for which work in the Laguerre, restricted Laguerre history for Jacobi fraction. So now this level, instead of taking just the product gamma 2k plus 1, I'm going to split again into ak minus 1 and ck. So I am going to work with four valuation, the same as for restricted Laguerre, with b prime k, b double prime, this and this. or if you prefer, AK equal gamma index 2 k plus 1. So doing this, you see, you have this, you get back the bk lambda k, but I am going to distinguish between these four possible cases. And if I apply this to your Euler quantum fraction, or I can rewrite this like this, then I get these four formula give me this. So this gives me the restricted Laguerre history, where there is a blue step of k plus 1. No, the red step is k plus 1 possibility, and the blue step is only k possibility. There is one less, because I'm always keeping an empty cell on the left. And if I go back to bk lambda k, this gives me the restricted Laguerre history. It's coming, you see, from a contraction of the path, but distinguish the four possible steps. So now I can give a bijection going from subdivided Laguerre history, going to restricted Laguerre history. I'm going to explain so by calculus, is you go from this quantum fraction to this quantum fraction. I'm going to do the analog on the combinatorics of history. So this is a subdivided Laguerre history. And I'm going to transform this into a restricted Laguerre history directly. So you see the same picture. Huh? You have this. See the same picture. It's just to transport this valuation, the red valuation, which corresponds in the yellow strip. I'm going to put them. For example, this 0. I'm going to throw them on the left, like this. So the blue. Everybody. You see the transformation I am doing this. And now I am contracting the path. From a Dicke path, I get a two-color Motzkin path, like this. And the four possible steps, see, for example, this one was up-down. It corresponds to, when I contract, to a blue step. So you put the weight. So you see the red weight coming from the subdivided Laguerre history become on this weight, and this weight become. So you see the red. You transport from the subdivided Laguerre history. There was some red and blue weight corresponding to the level on the yellow strip and the white strip. So now this weight in blue and red become exactly some weight on the two-color Motzkin path. And it's a restricted history. I have 4 operators, if you remember. So now the red weight corresponds to going north, east, or a red step. So this is operator A and K, which correspond to the large Laguerre history. There is K. If you are at level K, there is K plus 1 choice. Now this is restricted Laguerre history. This blue step means you have only K choice when you are at level K. And when you cancel, suppress, you have only K choice also. So I have here a restricted Laguerre history, which, and the weight, you see the weight, the valuation, the number of choice between 0 and pi minus 1, you can recognize when you have the step A or K, northeast step or red east step, this corresponds to the red valuation, which corresponds to the yellow strip of the subdivided Laguerre history. The blue number, the blue choice corresponds to blue east step or to southeast step, which corresponds to the white strip in the subdivided Laguerre history. So this is the picture, you see. This is my subdivided Laguerre history. This is the 2 Hermite history. This is the contraction of this Laguerre history into a restricted Laguerre history. The weight go very well on the 4 possible steps. And you see this involution here, with the red number, corresponds exactly to the operator A and K of the restricted Laguerre history. And this Hermite history corresponds to the operator J flat and S flat of the restricted Laguerre history. So this is the picture, you see, so you have and in fact, this paper with Andemedicis, we were following a paper by Feuchter and Zalberger. what they have done in the paper is a direct bijection between permutation and restricted Laguerre history. It was another bijection. There was the first one was with Françon, a bijection we have seen between permutation and restricted Laguerre history. And Zalberger Fata gave another bijection, but putting the permutation in cycle notation. And then they invent this splitting into two involution. But in the construction, they go directly to this. They do everything at the same time, splitting, contraction. So in the paper, so what we have tried to explain with Admetzis is to decompose this bijection for Zalberger into 4 possible steps to show that there was a Hermite history behind, there was contraction of path, there was also to make a better understanding of the bijection. Also, what we have done is not exactly the same. There is some modification to make, to my point of view, to make the things more simple and to have a better understanding by decomposing into first going to Hermite, pair of Hermite history, and then contraction of path. So this is again another story, and so this is what we have done. You see. So now I continue with the commutative proof. I gave another Euler continued fraction. It's this one. It was a refinement of the continued fraction, still just for n factorial. And if you look carefully, in modern notation, this is this continued fraction, where you put the parameter beta. See, everywhere you have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, but then you replace 3 by beta plus 2. So you replace k by k plus 1 plus beta. And we know that, and Euler says that this is exactly this. And this is the distribution of permutation by left to right minimum element, or the Stirling number, or permutation by number of cycles. And it's easy to prove now. All the material we have done, it's easy to get a commutative proof of this. So this continued fraction is gamma 2k equal k, gamma 2k plus 1 equal k plus beta, which give you this transformation, give you this by the contraction of path, give you this. This is the weight for, we have seen that this is for restricted Laguerre history, and we have seen that beta is counting in the bijection with permutation. It is counting the left to right minimum element in the bijection, restricted Laguerre, and permutation. And which give you this moment. And I claim that what we have done, we have a proof of this. It's because the proof is the following. It's because in the restricted, the parameter beta appear in the restricted Laguerre history. And each time you apply, you see, each time you apply the first choice in these 2 possible ways. These 2 possible ways correspond to the operator A and operator K. They correspond to a northeast step and an east step with in red. Each time you take the first choice on the empty cell on the left, but putting A or K means you open a new empty cell on the left. So each time you take this first choice for these 2 kind of steps, 2 kind of operator, you get the parameter beta. But A and K are here. In this, they are in the red number. And the red is here on the yellow strip. So each time you take the first choice, you have a beta here, which is exactly the weight you need to prove this continued fraction. It's because each time you take the first choice for using the red label, using the operator A and K, using this Hermite history, and so you using this each of these level, which correspond to the yellow strip in the here. So if you look carefully, we get a proof. By combining the proof that restricted Laguerre history, the beta is a number of left to right minimum elements. But there is more commutative to say. So the next is a bijection between subdivided Laguerre history and Dicke tableau. So we have seen this in part 3, last year in part 3 of the class. So what is a Dicke tableau? It's another coding of permutation. A Dicke tableau is the following. You take a Dicke path, like this Dicke path, and you see in each of these columns, so At the lower level, you have this minimum dig path here. And in each of the valley here, you put a column. See, the column, you see, are in purple. Here, I don't put anything. I just take this column here. And in each column, you choose a point, any point. Here, there is 3 possible choices. See, here, there is 2 possible choices. So it's a choice of this point in each of this purple column. And this is called a dig tableau. Dig path plus this choice of point. And the number of such dig tableau is n factorial. It's another coding of permutation. There is some bijection between dig tableau and permutation. But dig tableau is a way to look at the subdivided Laguerre history without splitting in 2 different Hermite history. So here, what is a subdivided Laguerre history? So here is my dig tableau. So I put a point at level 0, 0. This is the height of the point. I put height 2. I am at level 1, level 1, level 0, level 1, level 0. And now for each of these columns, you go on the top of the column, and there is 2 possibilities. You look the elementary step on the left. So this is northeast elementary step. And here, if you look this column, this is a southeast elementary step. So there is 2 kinds of columns corresponding to, on the top, you look the left elementary step on the top of the column, which can be northeast or southeast, which correspond to the red color or the blue color. Now the height, 0, 0, 2, 1, 1, etc., you can recognize that is exactly the height which is here. The 0, 0, I put on this northeast step exactly the height of the corresponding column. So this dig tableau is in bijection with this picture, which if you throw the red number again on the corresponding, if you do this, what we have done before, you get back a subdivided Laguerre history. So it's a way of coding a dig tableau. It's a nice way of coding a subdivided Laguerre history. You see, when you look this column, there is 2 kinds of column, and the division, these 2 kinds of column, which is this kind of this kind, and when you have this kind of column, this step will fall on a yellow strip, and when you have this kind of column with a step like this, it will fall on a white strip. It's some property of the dig path. It's because of this column go to, I take this column, I don't take this one, I take this column, it's go even, odd, even. There is a distinction, odd, even, on the abscisses, which is going to reflect the distinction between yellow and white strip. This connection between yellow, white strip and distinction between this column and no column, it was implicit in the previous bijection we have done for shuffling the 2 Hermite history. And so we have this now a better tableau with this. This is a bijection with dig tableau. But we have seen also in previous lecture, from Laguerre history, we are here, we can go to Laguerre heaps. From a Laguerre history, a restricted Laguerre, there is 3 possible ways to implement this. Computer scientists would say they implement this on the bijection with permutation. There is 3 bijection: permutation in cycle notation, permutation in word notation, and maybe a better new bijection with Laguerre heaps, which maybe I think the future will be very useful in, especially with the Q analog. So from restricted Laguerre history to Laguerre heaps. So this we have already seen. This is the restricted Laguerre history. And then you read, it's coming from data structure. You read your data structure from left to right. Then you add a new point. Then I am adding a new point. So I have to add a new segment. And I take choice number 0, the lowest choice. See, now here I am adding, K means I am adding a point, a segment reduced to 1 point. And I have 3 possible choices. Choice 0, choice 1, choice 2, so I take the choice. Now Again, I have a K, I have choice number 1, so I am adding a point. There is 3 possibilities to, this corresponds to asking a negative question. Data structure, there is 2 people in the data structure, the 2 segments, and here I am asking, are you here? No, I am here between these 2, so choice number 1. So now I am asking a positive question, the J, this level. There is 2 possible choices. I take choice number 1. So with this we have done this bijection, and restricted Laguerre history give you this Laguerre heaps of segment. So I go from this to this to this. Now Laguerre heaps of segment, you can go to permutation. This we have done in part number 3. So I just remind you, this is a heaps of segment. So every heaps there is a Knut or lexicographic standard ordering. So you take the minimum pieces, the lowest, the minimum pieces, and you take the leftmost. Here is not a good example. Here, this is 2 maximal pieces, and the leftmost, the rightmost. So you take the leftmost minimal pieces, then you delete from the heap. So the next one is this. The next minimum pieces is this. And now remain 2 pieces. The leftmost is this. And then what remains is. So there is a total order of the pieces of the heaps. This is called lexicographic standard ordering, normal form of the heaps. And then you take the first piece, and you label from right to left. 1, 2. 1, 2. Then you take the next one. 3. Then the next segment. So you label from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then the next one is 7, and the next is 8. So you get a labeling of the heaps, and then what you do, you project this on the axis, and you get a permutation. So this was a standard bijection which was useful in the class last time in part 3. So we have done this circuit from subdivided history, restricted Laguerre history, Laguerre heaps of segment, go back to permutation. Now from permutation, we can go back to Dick tableau. So I take this permutation, the same, and this is a Dick tableau, and so I take the same permutation, 6, 2, 7, 3, 5, 1, 4, and I'm going to construct a Dick tableau. So I take the 1, see, I start with this broken line. So the 1, I put the 1 here, the 2 is on the left. So what you do is I am going to add the 2 with a broken line like this. You are adding, this is the rule. When you go left, you make like a snake, a broken line of cell like this. Now the 3 go to the right. You just hide the 3 on the, you put the 3 on this, on this column, touching what you have done before. Now the 4, okay, we can put it here. When you go right, you just put a cell, the lowest possible on the already picture you have designed. Then the 5, the 5 is going to the left. So I am going to connect the 4 with the 5 here, but by making a snake, this kind of red snake. Now the 6 is going to be here. So you connect the 7, okay, and the 8, I am going right. And what I get a Dick tableau. So we are going a long trip. My purpose is to compare all this. So you get a Dick tableau. And now we know a Dick tableau is a subdivided Laguerre history. And my Dick tableau I get is exactly the previous subdivided Laguerre history. From this, you go to this, which is exactly this. So this is the beautiful garden of, we are in the middle of a beautiful garden, which is, the diagram is commutative. It's not obvious maybe to prove completely, but you see it, we are turning around something, and for me maybe this heaps of segment is maybe the key which is around everywhere, and maybe will solve some problem about the Askey-Wilson interpretation of the moments. But there is more. There is more because this is restricted Laguerre history. We know I can construct a permutation from this. So what is the relation? What is this permutation? We have constructed with subdivided Laguerre history, you have constructed the permutation with involution, 2 pair of Hermite, etc. But we can construct the permutation also from this in a word notation. So if you take this, this restricted Laguerre history, and then you can construct. So now I am going to change the construction. Instead of keeping the empty cell on the left, I will keep it on the right. It's the same, it's a mirror image of the construction. So you start with an empty cell. I put the operator A in choice number 0. So I put this. A is opening 2 cells. Now the second operator A, you put in a 0 position. 0 means from left to right. This is position 0, position 1. So this is 2. Now the K is in number 2. So 0, 1, 2. So I am going to add the 3 here. And K means you open a new cell on the right. So it's just a dual of the previous restricted Laguerre history. Each time you keep the empty cell on the right, and only operator A and K can do this. Here K is opening a cell on the right. Before it was opening, K was opening a cell on the left. I take just the dual. Now again K is 4, is in the first position, 0, 1, so in this position. And I open a cell on the right. Now operator J is flat, first position. So the first position for the, position 1. So this is position 0, position 1. There is only 2 possible. With operator J, you cannot put a cell here. So put the 5 and open a cell on the left. Operator S flat, you kill, you don't open any new cell. So 6, now again operator K, which is here. I take choice number 1. So this was choice number 0, choice number 1, which is a low word for K, because K is going to open a new cell on the right. And S, you get a beautiful permutation. And now I have a previous permutation in my diagram. And if I take the inverse permutation, this is exactly, I get back this permutation. So this permutation is the inverse of this permutation you get from the Laguerre history, making the dual by putting always the operator K and A, keeping an empty cell on the right. So maybe you can ask, this is a full diagram we have done. But we have seen also, there is a embedding of Laguerre, restricted Laguerre history in cycle notation. Here, there is another bijection with cycle notation. So this is, I don't know completely the connection. What is the connection between these 2 cycle notation? Here there is 4 cycles, and cycle correspond to when you one of the operator you take the minimum choice, but to get 4 cycles you have to take this is the minimum choice for A, and for K there is twice you take the maximal choice. There is 2 operators, you take minimum choice, 2 operators, you take maximal choice, and you get 4, you get the number of cycles here. I don't know if there is a relation, so this is an open research problem to see the connection here. Maybe it should be. It's so beautiful. All this garden is of bijection is so beautiful that. And then there's a recent. His paper is not yet published. This was for the 60th birthday of Krathenthaler in Strobel in Austria, and then make a beautiful talk. You have a 10-parameter continued fraction with many parameters coming from earlier continued fraction. He has many interpretations, and this is close to all this. If you look at this beautiful garden, this maybe you can get a proof of this J fraction. This is a talk. He gave, there is a slide of the talk, and probably they will give, this is a joint, they will do a joint paper with Sokal. The topic is very active. You see, this is a paper on arXiv. Last week, this 3 Chinese people, they make a paper, a new encoding of permutation by Laguerre history. So it's, see, the subject is going on. The garden is, and it's a very living topic. It's a subject. It depends what you want. My dream is for the interpretation of the moment of the ASCII-Wilson with the 4 parameters. And so ASCII-Wilson, moment of ASCII-Wilson, are behind all this. It's what we have done last week in part 3. And in a previous talk, we have seen interpretation with the Laguerre heaps of segment. You see, so there is this 4 operator, and there is 4 operator, and for each operator, you can take, this was a minimal choice. And this was giving the left to right minimum element. And when you use, there is 2 possible operators, the A and the K. When you use the K, this was a single point. This corresponds to fixed point in the cycle notation. But you can do also, this was the right to left maximum element. And so you can, in fact, there is 4 operators. Each operator you can distinguish if you take the minimum or the maximum. So in fact, there is 12 parameters from this picture. You can put as many parameters you want and then try to explain all this. So this is still a living topic in a living garden, and people are, there is bijection in, so many bijection interconnecting that this is the beauty of, when you have a single bijection, single total, but these bijections are really intricated in each other, around and factorial, and probably to my belief, the Laguerre heaps of segment, nobody has yet worked on this, to my knowledge, and should be at the center of all this, because you can really see better. There is a 4 symmetry. This point here, which nobody below, there is this point which nobody above, there is this 4 alpha beta, there is a 4 symmetry, in fact, of this parameter. When corresponding to southwest, southeast, northwest, northeast, it's a... So I will finish with briefly 5 minutes with this possible to have other interpretation of moments in continuum fraction by using the part 2 heaps of pieces. Instead of interpreting moments continuum fraction with paths, you can interpret with heaps of monomer and dimers. In fact, the orthogonal polynomial was, in fact, pavage, trivial heaps of monomer dimers. So here is a semi-pyramid. I go back to the class. So you have to know the part 2, the class on heaps of pieces. So this is a heaps of monomers and dimers. And semi-pyramid means there is only one maximal piece. That means a piece that you can remove without touching any other pieces. So there is only one maximal piece. And semi-pyramid means this maximal piece is touching the vertical axis. The projection of the maximal piece, maybe it's the dimers 0, 1, the projection, or maybe it's the dimers projecting in 0, the monomers projecting in 0. So go back to the art of biocomputing equatorics, part 2, heaps of pieces, and I claim that this semi-pyramid is going to interpret the moment or the Jacobi continuum fraction. So you put a weight on this, so you have the 2-second bk lambda k. So each dimers is going to have a weight lambda k if it's in column connected k and k plus 1. So the weight doesn't depend on the level of the pieces, it just depends on the projection. And see the projection, so here it will be weight b0, b1, b2, b4, b5, etc., and lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3, lambda 4. And then the semi-pyramid, a weighted semi-pyramid, the sequence of primitive semi-pyramid. You just look at this first vertical edges, take the smallest piece here, you push it, take this diamond, and suppose you push it down, and you get a whole semi-pyramid. Then you take the next one, take the next one, take the next one, you see. So you can decompose. It's analog of decomposing a Dicke path or Motzkin path into a sequence, like the flageolet lemma we have done, as a sequence of a primitive Motzkin path. Any semi-pyramid, the sequence of primitive semi-pyramid. And what means a primitive semi-pyramid? It means that on the first, else it's reduced to a single point B0, like this one, or else it is dimers. There is nobody below, and what remains here is it's again a semi-pyramid, but shifted. All the weight bk lambda k are shifted. And so from this decomposition, primitive semi-pyramid is a sequence of this. So you get the generating function of semi-pyramid is 1 over 1 minus primitive this, minus the delta of this, where I denote this. The variable t is a number of monomers plus twice the number of dimers. And so you repeat it, and you get the analog of Flageolet basic lemma in terms of heaps. If you prefer heaps of pieces, you get this. But the maybe the advantage to take heaps is that for the convergent, then you just take the generating function for the convergent of the. It's just the inversion lemma. Because the polynomial, orthogonal polynomial, the pavage, is just trivial heaps. The inverse of trivial heaps is taking heaps of monomer dimers, so here it's maybe more easy. Orthogonal polynomial are, it was by the three-term recurrence relation, it was the sum of a whole pavage, or minus 1 power the number of pieces of the pavage, the weight of the pavage in x power, here x power is a number of isolated points. So this was the interpretation of orthogonal polynomial coming from the three-term recurrence relation. This is the weight of the pavage. With a minus 1 by the number of pieces. So if you take the reciprocal means now you put an x on each monomers and x2 on each dimers. So the reciprocal is exactly trivial heaps. Trivial heaps. Now when there was no reciprocal, I cannot use the inversion lemma because there was some x for each isolated point. But taking the reciprocal, I can really apply the inversion lemma, and you have an x2, x power 2 for each dimers, and x for each monomers. And so the inverse of this is the heaps, is a general heaps on a finite segment. But convergent, in fact, is a semi-pyramid. Semi-pyramid on a finite segment. So we know from the inversion lemma of the class on heaps of pieces that the denominator is exactly the reciprocal of the orthogonal polynomial, or the trivial heaps on 0k. So the denominator is exactly this. And now the numerator, if you remember this part 2 of the curse on the bijective pointer x, the numerator is a derivative function of trivial heaps with pieces which does not belong to the fixed maximal piece. Maximal piece which is fixed is here. So it must be pieces, and it's pieces avoiding which does not contain 0. If you look really the inversion lemma, then you get exactly this numerator. Numerator is just trivial heaps of monomer dimers which avoid this because the constraint is that the maximal piece of semi-pyramid must contain the 0. So the numerator is trivial heaps which does not contain the 0. So you can also make, if you prefer heaps, but pass, it's good to have a different interpretation, not to be fixed on an interpretation and go from one to another. And this will conclude chapter 3. So next time we will do chapter 4, which is how to compute the bk lambda k. There is a direct algorithm from the past, there is a determinant, there is a QD algorithm, and also there is a Ramanujan algorithm. Okay, so thank you very much.